Yo, I cannot believe we just went through all of that. Like, that is so much, so much we just covered. That is probably the most important and the hardest part of everything that I'm gonna show you guys right now. At this point, moving forward, everything should be a breeze. Hopefully, if you guys understood what makes a good voice AI system prompt actually fucking good. So now what we're gonna do, Miles, is we are officially going to start creating our own voice AI system prompt for the plumbing voice AI system that we're going to be building. And so with doing that, the most important thing I'm going to show you how to do is how you can create your own very good voice AI system prompts, right? That's going to be the bread and butter of what makes somebody good at actually building voice AI systems, right? Obviously, now you understand the importance of the voice AI system prompt and all these different things that are inside of it. So now I'm going to show you the best way, at least how I go about it, right? There's so many different ways to go about it, but this is how I usually go about it. And I'm going to show you guys right now how to create your own voice AI system prompts. So let's go ahead and jump into it, Miles. There are, as you can see on the screen, there are several different ways that you can actually go about creating them. And usually you're going to do a combination of these, right? You're not just going to stick with one way and only do that. You're going to double dip into every single flavor here, and you're going to get a combination of all these different things that's going to give you the final output that you want. So let's talk about what these ways actually are, okay? Let's think about it. Now that you know that a voice AI system prompt has a specific structure and a format behind it, which actually makes it good, the best use case scenario that we could pull up is if we have an example. Now, if you're just now starting and you don't know me, maybe I never gave you guys an example, what do, right? You're staring at a blank canvas. You don't have a very good example to maybe feed into another AI, and you haven't used that as reference for creating different voice AI systems. So how do you actually create them from scratch? And that's going to be the first way I'm going to show you. This is if you're wanting to just create it from scratch and maybe you don't have a reference example for the system prompt that you're wanting to create. And that first method is going to be by looking at voice AI prompting documentation. What does that mean, Miles? Let's just pretend that we are Vappy. Okay, we are this huge company that is, helping people build voice AI systems on our platform. Or let's just say we're retail, which is just another company that pretty much does the same thing that Vappy does, but with different features. Or whatever kind of company out there that helps people build voice AI systems on their platform. Let's just pretend we are this company, Miles. What good would it do if we have this amazing platform where people can build very good, like really cool systems, but they don't know how to build them because they don't understand voice AI system prompting? And because that is a thing, right? These people want people to build voice AI on their platforms. The best initiative for them to actually get people to jump on is by teaching and showing people what that voice AI system prompt structure and everything actually looks like. Meaning these guys who developed the platform actually also developed documentation on best practices and what you should and should not do when you're system prompting voice AI. Does that make sense, Miles?
Yes, sir.
So what we're going to be doing is we are going to be finding these prompting documentations from these people that basically give us a cheat code on how to best system prompt a voice AI system, which obviously makes most sense because these people are the people that are, they own the developer platform that you're building the agent on top of. And this is usually written by engineers and developers that are, actually put a lot of thought behind these different structures and formatting that they're telling you in this documentation. So boom, look at what I just did, Miles. I went to Google and all I did was I searched Vappy system prompting documentation. The very first thing that came up is voice AI prompting guide. And guess who it's from? It's from Vappy. You can see it's from docs.vappy.ai. This is prompting guide, which by the way says helps you write effective prompts for voice AI assistants. The guide is designed to teach you how to design, test, and refine prompts to get the best results from your agents. Bro, this is our cheat code. These guys gave us a cheat code that, guess what we're going to do with this cheat code, by the way? Do you think we're going to open it up and actually read it? Do you think we're gonna open this up and take our notebooks and gonna take our pens? We're gonna be like, oh yeah, or identity and role. No, bro, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna cheat. We're gonna take the link to this documentation, and the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to ChatGPT. I'm gonna paste the link in here, and then I'm gonna tell it I want you to extensively analyze this and study this. And then your job is going to help me creating a system prompt using the best practices that you just analyzed. Holy shit, Miles. This is like, it could not be any better, bro. It could not be any better. That's exactly what we're going to do. We're going straight to the source, and we're not reading the source. We're having whatever AI that we're using actually analyze everything and help us use those teachings to create our own system prompts. This gives it a backbone. This is literally giving the system prompt that you guys are creating a backbone. So look at this, mouse. We're telling it word for word, by the way. We just pasted the link and we said, look through this documentation, analyze it extensively. You're a professional voice AI system prompt creator, which, by the way, I probably should have, threw this in front of this, but you know what? It doesn't matter. Your job will, actually, it does matter. I take that back. I'm just being lazy right now, right? Your job will be to help me create the absolute highest quality and highest detail, right? Because we really care about details. Voice AI system prompts following all the best practices for not only structure, but formatting and sections of what makes a voice AI system prompt very effective. So what's going to happen when we send this right now, Miles, is whichever AI you decide to use, right now, obviously we're using ChatGPT. If you want to use Claude or Gemini or DeepSeek, it's literally going to look through that entire documentation and it's going to analyze it, and then it's going to intake all these different things that it needs to learn about how to craft and create very good voice AI system prompts. So right now we can see it says, I went through the documentation. The page's core message is that strong prompts are not just good writing. They are operational instructions meant to da-da-da-da. And then you can see this guide frames prompt engineering as an iterative cycle of design, test, refinement, and repeating. Now look right here, okay? I'm going to compare what this guide says to what I just taught you, bro. Let's just look at it very, very quickly, okay? The guide emphasizes that complex behavior should be broken into step-by-step instructions with conditional logic, right? This is the importance of sectioning different things in the system prompt. Instead of giving the model one broad objective, you tell it exactly how to move through the call. This is the call orchestration, Miles. Remember, step 4A, step 4B. This is us telling it how to move through the call, what to ask first, what to do if the caller says yes, and what to do if the caller says no. Remember what I told you, how you need to really understand the call process itself in order to build a very fucking good voice AI agent. The reason why is because you have to bake that into it. And this literal documentation is telling you exactly what I was telling you earlier, Miles. By the way, I didn't even know this documentation existed when I got very good at creating these system prompts. I had to go through this shit the hard way. I had to write things, look at a system that was like acting horrible, and then slowly, I started to figure out that structure really mattered. And so I started to structure my own things. And funny enough, I was doing this structuring, but I didn't know that you had to walk it step by step. I figured that out the more and more I tested. And then and only then I found out about the actual formatting, the markdown being super important. So it took me a very long time to kind of like solidify this in the back of my mind. But right now, what I'm trying to give you is a cheat code for going through this. And obviously, you shouldn't have to read through this entire guide. But what we're going to do is you are going to be familiar with what makes this voice AI system prompt very strong. And we're going to use AI to actually go through and create it. So look at this, okay? Identity and mission at the very top. Context boundary, tone, personality, voice realism, response rules, conversation orchestration, turn taking, tools, okay? All of this stuff, error handling and fallbacks, and the ending. This is step-by-step files, what I had just explained to you in my own words without even looking at this response that was just generated by ChatGPT. Take this structure and like fucking literally tattoo it, bro. This is what makes voice AI agents good. It cannot get more stronger than this, bro. I cannot be more straightforward than this. If you want to build very good, strong voice AI systems that you can sell for 10, 15,000, whatever number you want to sell, and you're just slopping bullshit out there, you're not following this exact structure that I spent an entire day covering with you, you're not going to build good systems. And it's just point blank period. That's just what it is. So the only reason I'm showing this to show you, I'm not bullshitting, bro. Everything that I'm showing you is just from experience and from what the actual documentation is telling people. So now that we sent this, okay, what do we have to do next? Okay, let's just go back to the board real quick. And I'm just going to write next to this, okay? I'm going to say step 1, find the prompting documentation. Step 2, you're going to give that documentation to an AI, and then you're going to prompt it to analyze and study and become expert, right? Whatever that looks like. Now, step 3, okay, what do you actually do to make this AI, what do you do to make this AI your partner when creating voice AI systems? Because ultimately, right, you don't want to be creating these things from scratch. you want to system prompt an AI and get it very, very good at creating them, and then start using it as a partner for when you're actually creating these voice AI systems. So this is going to be our next step, okay? We're going to create a partner, and we're going to do what we've been doing throughout this entire project, Miles. We are going to cheat. Thank you. All right. So look, we are going to use the system prompt that creates system prompts, bro. This is the thing that I was telling you guys about that we literally been using again and again and again. But if you're watching this video, you most likely have access to this right here. If you don't, send me a message and I'll give it to you. But what this is this is a big ass gigantic system prompt, which basically you throw into an AI and it helps you create high quality professional system prompts for whatever it is that you want. Okay, there's a big explanation down here for it, and this is something that I created and I've been using for a very long time. Okay, what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna take this, okay, and I'm gonna jump back into GPT and I'm gonna open up a temporary chat. Okay, this is something that's just gonna disappear after we get out of the window, and I'm gonna throw it in here. As soon as I paste and as soon as I hit send, what this system prompt is designed to do is ask you what it is that you want. So right now it's gonna say, okay, I'm ready. Tell me the specific use case, right? What do you want a system prompt for? Now what we're going to do, Miles, is we're going to describe literally the best professional voice AI system prompt creator that not only helps us create the system prompts, but goes back and forth with us and asks us questions in order to make the highest quality voice AI system prompts. So now we're just going to give it a big dump of all the things that we want, and then we're going to wait for it to give us that system prompt, and we're going to use that system prompt to then create the voice AI system prompts. I know we're like literally in the fucking matrix, right? We're using system prompts to create system prompts to have an AI that creates system prompts. It's crazy, bro. This makes no sense, but this is literally what we're doing. Think about this, right? You're using a system prompt, and this system prompt is going to generate a system prompt, and that system prompt is going to be for an AI which will create system prompts, bro. That shit makes no sense. But that's exactly what we're going to do right now. So I'm just going to type out everything I want to say, and then we're going to cut the camera to whatever that says. All right, Miles, so I just got done yapping. Okay, you can see there's a lot of things here. What I did is I just brain dumped context every single thing I want in a very, very good partner that's going to help me create these voice AI system prompts. I'm just going to read it out to you very, very quickly. We're not going to go too much into it, but this is exactly what I said, right? I want an expert voice AI system prompt creator, right? Obviously, this is going to be something that's going to be helping me create these voice AI system prompts. His job is going to be creating very high quality, very detailed voice AI system prompts in Markdown format. It won't just immediately create them though first. It will go back and forth with me and ask me as many questions as possible in order to cover all the details needed to actually create a very high quality, naturally conversational and functional voice AI agent. You can see, bro, this is very, very important right here. The reason why I threw this in here is because now you don't have an AI that's just going to be splurting things back out to you. You almost have a consultant, right? It's going to think twice and even 3 times before it spits something back out to you. And it's going to try to refine it and personalize it literally as close as you want to whatever details that you're giving it. So this is a very important detail right here. We're telling it should go back and forth with me about all the call orchestration and go as deep as possible to cover all the branches where the call could potentially go while it's happening. We don't want to do the hard work of going through and actually creating the different things in the voice AI system prompt that take care of the branching, right? Remember that example where we have some very, very complex calls. We don't want to do all of this discovery ourselves. So we are basically prompting this voice AI to help us go through this discovery, right? It's going to ask us questions and figure out all these different branches and then use that information to create the system prompt. So this should be a very, very important detail as well. And then I'm telling it first, before doing anything, on its very, very first interaction with me, it should expect to receive from me a documentation. Actually, I'm going to put a documentation link, which is going to cover the best practices guide and structure of what makes a voice AI system prompt very good. I'm telling it, like, I'm going to give it that link that I gave the other one earlier. And then I'm going to say it will analyze those documentation bits and use them as an anchor, right, for writing all the future voice AI system prompts for my case. Do you see how we are like literally making sure that this documentation is a backbone for the way that it's going to be writing these system prompts? And this is also, again, very, very important detail because we want it to have its foot in that documentation and use that as reference when it's actually creating things for us.
Yes, sir.
Then I said, remember, it should not resort to immediately creating it, but it should consult me to cover as detailed and as deep into the call process orchestration, tonality, speaking styles, etc. Basically all the components and sections of a voice AI system prompt. All I did was just context dump everything that I really, really wanted. And then now I'm gonna throw it in here, and what's gonna happen is it's gonna think for a little bit, and then it's gonna come back to us and give us a system prompt. And you guys can see this system prompt is going to be used to create that persona, right? To create that partner that's going to help us create voice AI system prompts when the time comes. Now, this is a pro tip from me, okay? Whatever chat you decide to throw this in here, if you guys are deciding to build voice AI agents for future companies, you're probably going to be going back to that chat again and again and again. And actually, the more you use it, the better it gets, because it has all this different context from the chat history about what you want and what you don't want. Yeah, we're going to use this for creating that persona, okay? We're going to make sure that this is whatever chat that we're throwing this into is going to be the chat that is, basically going to be helping us create these voice AI system prompts for the use cases for the future. So you can see this is very deep, bro. It's very fucking long. I'm not even going to think about reading all of this. All I'm going to do is I'm going to copy it right here, okay? Now since we're in a temporary chat, as soon as I get out of this, it's going to disappear. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to get out of this. I am just going to open up a, brand new tab, brand new chat. And then we're going to just throw it in here outside of it being a temporary chat. So that way it actually embodies that role and we can go back to it. So boom, I just copied it, open up a brand new chat, and then just quickly prime this. I'm going to give you instructions. I want you to embody them. Now it's saying, okay, send those instructions. I send it through and let's just see what happens, right? So it says, okay, perfect. I'm locked into this role now. Before we go any further, we need to follow the process exactly as defined. You guys can see the first thing it's asking me for is the documentation. It says, okay, you mentioned earlier the documentation. I want you to confirm one of the following. Do you want me to use that exact VAPI prompting guide as our primary governing framework, or do you want to provide additional documentation, other standards, whatever? It already knew this because, again, like it has access into our other chats. And because we reference this in our other chat, it already knew which one I was talking about. So I didn't really have to give it that. So I'm going to say, yes, reference those VAPI docs. I'm just going to say that here. And then it says, once you confirm, I'm going to deeply analyze this, extract all this stuff, whatever. Important. I will not write a system prompt. We're going to architect this properly like a real production system, not guess and patch later. So it's waiting for me to confirm. Obviously, I'm going to confirm right now. I'm going to say, yes, I want you to use those VAPI docs that we're talking about. And the next thing what's going to happen is you can see that it locked in those documentation as its anchor for creating those system prompts. So right now it's just giving me a big overview of these documentation. I don't care about none of this, okay? Now here's what I really, really want to do. I want to create a voice AI system prompt for the plumbing thing that we want to build, that we care about. And what we're going to do right now, Mouse, is we are going to build it inside of here. We're going to go back and forth with this chat right here, literally to make sure that we have the final version of what we care about. You guys are going to get to see us do this live, literally from scratch. Now, at this point, I just want to take you back to the drawing board here because I want to, I told you here there's going to be several ways and you're going to be using these in combination. Obviously, this right here is going to be like a very important driver if you're starting off from scratch. But what's going to happen after you create a very good system prompt that you really like and it performs very good? What you can then do is now you just unlocked the second thing you can do, which is give your AI as reference that other voice AI system prompt that is already a good working system prompt. Once you go through the back and forth, maybe you don't want to do that every time to actually create the structure behind what it is that you want to do. So what you can then do is you can use that thing as reference. You can system prompt and tell it that I'm going to give you a very good example of what I want a voice AI system prompt to be. And I want you to go into deep analysis and break all these things down and use that as the DNA for the next system prompt that we're going to be creating. So this is only unlocked once you actually have something to work with, which is either by you creating yourself through literally what we're about to do right now, or if you have somebody like me in your life who loves you so much and just gives you his best work for free completely. You can just download it and you don't have to worry about nothing. Either way it goes, okay? Either way it goes, this is going to be the best way for you guys to do that, right? You're going to be able to build it, or you're going to be able to use another very good one is very good as reference. Now, the third thing that you have to include in this combination, in this mix, and this happens only when you get to talk to the business, when you get to talk to the company or the client, or whoever you're selling this for. Remember that part of the process where you are talking to them about their call process, right? You're asking them, how do these calls go? You're either doing it in discovery, or maybe you're doing it after you sold the system. What you're going to do then is you're going to take all of those details that they told you. And then, by the way, I'm going to tell you guys right now, word for word, what I do. If you ask, what does Anmar do to get all these details from these clients? If we're on a meeting, I usually have that meeting recorded, right? I will record that meeting, and then I will go and I'll pull the transcript from that meeting. I'll pull the text from it, and then I'll take the text and I'll give it into another AI, and I'll tell it, hey, this is my conversation with a client. And part of this conversation is them explaining their own call process. I want you to help me analyze it and extract all the things I really care about for building voice AI. What that does is, again, cheating, bro. I love cheating. I don't want to have to write down notes the whole time and just, you know what I mean, take this whole thing by myself and do it manually. What if I forget some details? The best thing that you can really do is record these interactions with your customer. If you're sitting with them face to face, take your phone out and whip out a voice memo, okay? Literally go to the voice memo app, turn on a voice memo, and let your phone sit on the table and let them talk. You're going to take that transcript and you're going to pull the details from that transcript. So the third thing is going to be details from the client / company, okay? And this one is also very important. You want to make sure that if you do have this, that this is baked in to this. And this is what I mean when I say you're going to use a combination of these to create your very, very good high quality voice AI system prompts. It's because it comes from you creating a persona that helps you create this by walking through everything with you to the littlest detail. And then for future ones or future edits, you're giving that as reference. And then you're also tying in a bunch of details that you're getting from the client or the company. This, Miles, right here is your perfect formula for creating super happy customers when dealing with voice AI agents. Okay, this is your formula right here for what makes your system way better than somebody else who just fucking threw slop at the wall and has no idea how to prompt voice AI systems. So if you're taking notes right now, note this down along with everything I've been teaching about voice AI system prompting. All right, now back to the section right here, okay? You can see at this point, what is it saying, okay? Phase 2, deep discovery, we start now. I'm gonna guide you like this is a real system design. We're gonna go layer by layer, not all at once. And at this point, it's asking me to answer a bunch of questions, okay? This is a little tiny questionnaire, which I told it to do, right? I told it not to just immediately jump into creating things. I want you to ask me a bunch of things so that way you can cover all the details that are very, very important that we care about that are part of system prompting. So that's what we're going to do right now, Miles, okay? We are going to answer every single thing we can here, and then we're going to go through until we don't have anything more, and we're just going to follow through until we get the final version of our voice AI system prompt. So let's start here, okay? The first question is, what is the exact role of this voice AI? And the beautiful thing is when you're answering these questions, Miles, you don't have to be very professional or you have to really choose the words. You can just dump, you can just brain dump, bro, context dump. Talk to it as if you're talking to me. Talk to it as if you're just talking to a normal person. Don't worry about which words you're using, what you're not using. Just make sure you get all the details that you really care about in here. Even this is telling you don't be generic, be precise, right? Example of precision. I want an inbound receptionist for a plumbing company that handles missed calls. By the way, this is not even like precision. This is like, we know what precision is. Precision is big ass paragraphs full of context. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to answer these questions one by one, okay? I'm going to put a number 1. We are not going to start brain dumping. So what do we want, Miles? Okay, what is the role of this thing? Let's think about it, right? What makes this thing actually perform good in the plumbing industry? Just tell me everything that you're thinking about right now.
This is going to be a professional phone receptionist that answers calls and books appointments for plumbing companies.
Plumbing companies. So this is going to be a professional voice receptionist that answers calls and books appointments for plumbing companies. Let's look at the question one more time, right? What is the exact role? Okay, role tells me the identity and purpose, right? We're kind of like thinking ahead of time. We already know why it's asking this. It wants identity and it wants purpose. So right now what we just did is we just gave it identity and we gave it a tiny purpose. I want you to brain dump a lot more into its purpose, right? What kind of calls would it be receiving? What is it supposed to do for these kind of calls? What's the ultimate outcome that, you know what I mean? Just start brain dumping about who this voice AI agent is.
About who?
Yeah, what is the role, right? If we're looking at job title, imagine we're assigning a job title, right? And what you're doing here is you're describing what that job title is. So you're saying the job title is this. And in this job title, the person does this, and he does this, and he does this, and he does that. Which is kind of like already what you did. But what I'm saying is, can you go any deeper in more details in about this?
Your job is to work 24/7.
Remember, you're not saying your job. You're going back and forth with something that's going to help you create that system prompt.
The phone receptionist's job is to work 24/7.
Okay, you don't have to include that detail because the system prompt is not going to make it work 24/7. This is what we want to be in the system prompt that it should do or should not do, right? Just from the identity and role perspective. So I'll help you with this, Miles. We're gonna say its job is to answer calls potentially about plumbing inquiries involving services, emergencies, plumbing jobs, scheduling, and anything in between, just in case there's nothing we could not cover ourselves. And we're gonna say part of his job is gonna be collecting information. Remember, we're describing the role. Role is identity and purpose. So what is purpose, right? Part of his job is going to be collecting information related to different parts of its job as a receptionist for plumbing company. It is an expert at everything that makes a very good receptionist in the plumbing industry. All right, obviously, I have no idea what that is, but I'm framing it. That's what I'm doing, Miles. Here, I'm framing that role and identity into it, and you can see everything that I just did right now came from me just brain dumping, right, and me trying to be as detailed as possible. You have to get into the habit of not being generic, being very precise. Think through what would make somebody, if this is a real human, very good at this job. That's what you're gonna think through, and you're gonna describe it. So I think this question is done. Okay, let's go to number 2. What is the primary outcome of the phone call? Okay, and you have some examples right here: book an appointment, qualify lead, route to the department, educate, collect structured data. What is that? What does this thing actually do? Right? What does success look like for this agent? So just brain thump here. Okay, what do you think we should put here, Miles?
I feel like all of those examples would be good.
Not all of them would be good.
Gather information.
Let's think about it without looking at these examples. Just think about what is the outcome that's happening. If you don't know the outcome,
The outcome of the call is to get a basic understanding of what the customer's need is and figure out how we can assist them.
okay, that's a good start. So, figuring out what the customer's needs are. Can you now give me some examples of what potentially a customer's needs in the plumbing industry could be? Just quick examples.
For example, a customer calls.
Be very no. Don't give the full thing happening as an example. Give me an example of what a customer need could be.
For example, a broken pipe.
Broken pipe falls under a bigger category.
Leakage.
So think about it like this. You're right now at this point, we're thinking broad. We're thinking overview, right? We're thinking high level. So broken pipe falls under a bigger category. What is that category? For example, things could be broken. Emergencies, plumbing jobs, right? Service-based plumbing issues. Do you see how I'm like very high level? I'm just telling it what some needs could be. Or it could be inquiries about pricing, or maybe even troubleshooting, right? / diagnostic, right? So somebody calls and it's like, yo, I have this kind of pipe and whatever, and the voice AI is supposed to maybe help them troubleshoot or diagnose the issue. So ultimately, the success, what does it look like, right? Being able to successfully understand the intent, right, of the call. So we want the voice AI to know what somebody's calling about, handle it smoothly based on professionalism and logic of what needs to happen and be asked, and then make a decision whether it should or should not, use any of its tools, right? These tools are going to be what it's actually going to be doing. Is it going to be booking appointments? Is it going to be sending a message, right? And it should potentially make a decision whether it should be using any of its tools for booking appointment, etc. And obviously right now we don't have all those tools defined, so I'm literally going to tell you the tools themselves are not fully defined yet. And I'm literally saying I'm telling you this as an idea. Do you see how I'm doing right now? I'm not putting like more than 2 brain cells into this. I'm just yapping. I'm just talking. So in me yapping, in me talking, we pretty much covered collecting information. We covered qualifying, right? We covered booking appointment. We covered these things. But I did not have to work hard for me to find out these things. I just thought in my head about what the outcome should be for the thing that I'm literally selling. What is the best use case scenario? And I described it. That's all I did. Does that make sense, Miles, how I did this?
Yes.
Don't
you
think
just
too
don't.
hard. Don't think too hard. That's the job. The job of the AI helping you create this is to do the thinking. Your job is just to know what it is that you want the thing that you're selling to do and act like and be. And if you don't know that, bro, there's more work for you to do before selling the damn thing. You have to know your fucking product. So let's answer the third question, right? What type of call is this? Is this inbound? Is this cold or warm? Is this high intent, low intent? Cold or warm technically doesn't even matter because this matters in sales. And if you don't know what cold or warm means, if you have ever gotten a call from like some random spam number on your phone, if you've never talked to that company before, that is called a cold call. Okay, that this is an interaction. It's cold because they've never spoken with you before. And a warm call means that you either reached out to them and they're reaching back out to you, or they already called you before and you entertained it. You answered them and you gave them some information. You were actually maybe interested. So therefore, it's warm. That's what that means. And this usually is involved in sales. Now, this is not a sales call, right? This is a service call. So this doesn't even apply to us. Is it inbound or outbound? This does apply to us, right? Outbound means the voice AI is making the call. Is it making calls? No, it's taking calls. So this is going to be inbound here. So I'm going to say inbound. And then high intent, low intent. I'm not even really going to go into this. Again, I don't even need to look at these. What I can do is just brain dump, right? I'm going to say inbound. People will call it trying to get a hold of a local medium size plumbing company. So it should just do what a receptionist at a plumbing company would do. You can see I'm not even taking time to fix my spelling mistakes. That's how much I'm fucking dumping here, Miles. Now let's look at this, okay? Who is the caller? Okay, let's see. Question number 4. Who is the caller? The caller is random people with plumbing inquiries, right? These plumbing inquiries could be anything. It could be something broken, could be something not broken, aka customers to the plumbing. And these could be either new or old customers. That's going to be the people that are going to be calling this voice AI agent. It's asking about knowledge level of these people, right? Like, why does that even matter for us? I'm going to just tell it knowledge level should not matter because they're just customers that need something to happen from the plumbing company, right? So it doesn't matter if they're super smart or they're super dumb. None of that even matters for us. Emotional state when they call. Also, that doesn't really matter, right? Emotional state could be anything from very calm. We do want to mention the emotional state of being stressed because emergencies are involved in this, right? We know this because we did our research and we know that somebody can call with a big emergency happening. They want somebody ASAP. So we're going to explain this, okay? This is an important detail. Emotion state could be anything from very calm to very stressed due to a potential emergency happening as they are on the phone. And here, I'm just going to throw in a random comment, right? Because it's an emergency, what do I want? I would like the AI agent to handle emergencies properly and professionally, right? This is ultimately the outcome that I want when it's dealing with different emotional states. Now, let's talk about the business context, okay? What is business context? What is it asking about, right? What company is this for? What do they do? And what problem are they solving for the caller? What this is technically asking about, Miles, is the knowledge base section, okay? It's asking about the specific business that we're building this for. Obviously, right now, since we don't have a business that we're building this for, what we can do is we can either go to a random plumbing company online and just copy the URL, open up a brand new AI chat, and just ask it to create, ask it to answer these questions for us and just have it used as a placeholder. Or we can literally just say, we're not actually building this for any company right now. Use a placeholder for the knowledge base section. We know this ahead of time because we know that knowledge base is part of a voice AI system prompt. And so this is what this is for, right? It's trying to build that knowledge base for you. So for 5, I'm just going to say no business context yet. Put a placeholder for the knowledge base section of the system prompt for the business. We will add to it later once we define which company we're doing this for. So you see why I did that, right? Obviously, it's asking about this because it needs to throw that context in the system prompt so the AI knows what to answer when somebody says, what's your address? Now, here's the sixth section, right? What must happen before the call ends? This is success criteria, okay? This is the phone call should never end if these things don't happen. What do you think that is, Miles? Right? Help me answer this question right here. What do you think this is? These are hard lines. If these don't happen, the phone call failed.
Figuring out the customer's problem.
Perfect. Figuring out the customer's, well, technically it doesn't have to be a problem, right? It could be a question. So let's just frame it better, and let's just frame it better. We're going to say figuring out the customer's intent, right? Because intent could be either problem or a question, whatever it is. It's just intent. What else?
Getting the customer's
walk
first
through.
name.
No, what you're doing right now is you are jumping to different sections. I want you to think outside the box a little bit, and I want you to think from a high overview level. Okay, imagine you're like a bird looking at this. What is ultimately a successful call for a receptionist in general? Maybe not just in plumbing, right? Figuring out a customer's intent is going to be number one. The second one is what. Again, you're jumping to specific things. You're jumping to sections right now. Think holistically, Miles. Think overview. Think high level. Figuring out customers' intent. That's a high level thing. Booking is not a high level thing. That's a very specific thing. So think high level, right? Figuring out customers' intent.
Giving the customer a good experience.
So that's the second thing, right? Figuring out a customer's intent. Once I figure out that intent, what does a receptionist do? It's supposed to guide the customer through the call conversation smoothly and naturally, right? Do you see how we're high level?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to write that down. Guide the customer through the conversation smoothly, professionally, and naturally. Okay, what else, right? Now in this, it's guiding people through a conversation smoothly, professionally, and naturally. There are things inside of this, right? What makes it smooth? What makes it natural? What makes it professional? What are these things that it should always do when it's guiding somebody through the conversation? Must answer their questions to the best of its knowledge. And if it doesn't know or can't, it should always say that out loud, right? We always want this to happen. We always want it to figure out intent. We always want it to guide through the conversation. And we always want it to answer their questions to the best of its knowledge. And if it doesn't know or it can't, it should always say that out loud. These things should happen no matter what. Now that we kind of started digging from a higher level, let's dig a little bit deeper. At this point, right, we answered the overview level. Now let's just say if booking is involved, it should gather all the relevant details needed for the booking, right? And what are those details? Let's just say first name, last name, date, and time. And then we're going to say, I think that's it. Now, notice I'm not saying email, okay? The reason why I'm not saying email, as much as I would love for us to gather emails through the voice AI, that is a limitation right now in voice AI. It's hard for transcriber models and large language models to really hone down letter by letter what somebody's saying over the phone, especially when there's so many different accents and when there's so much maybe, different background noise and all these different factors that play into the phone call that make it imperfect. So it might, make the M an N on accident, or make the B a D, right? Because it's so similar and there's all these different crazy factors in the phone call. It makes it hard for you to collect things letter by letter. So I'm not even going to go through that, right? First name, we can do this. Somebody can say their first name. It'll probably collect that first name, but it might misspell it. Who cares, right? The name John could be spelled without an H. Who cares? It's still pronounced the same exact John. If it comes down to it and they want their name corrected, we can just manually correct it. But this, for the most part, if you say a first name, it'll try its best to spell it out the way it needs to be spelled. Same goes for last name. And then for date and time, because these are numerical, these are pretty hard to actually get wrong too. So we can confidently collect these pieces of information here. Now, do we want it to route the call? Okay. Let's just say when somebody asks for speaking to a human, right? We want it to do that. So it should always route the call to a human when it is asked to speak with a real person, right? That's going to be something that's very, very important. And at this point, that's pretty much it, right? I can't really think of much else. Just handle the customer's needs, Make sure you answer the questions best of your intent. Make sure you're natural. Make sure if you're doing booking to collect information, and when they're asked to speak with a normal person, then escalate it. That's basically the things that we should always happen before the call ends when it runs into them. Now let's look at what should never happen. Okay, this is going to be the constraints. We're going to say never give legal, medical, or financial advice. Okay, this has nothing to do with plumbing, obviously. But if somebody asks it, should I buy Bitcoin? It should never say no, or it should never say yes. It should never say anything about that. It should tell them, hey, I'm not a financial advisor. Sorry, I can't answer that. So this is guardrails, right? What should it never do? Never give legal, medical, or financial advice. And at this point, I want you to also, you know what? Maybe this is a little bit dangerous for us to think about all these things. What we can do is we can tell the system, the actual AI that's cooking it up, to think about the things that it should never do. You know, the common sense ones. So I'm going to say, I want you to also think about the other very important common sense never do's and put them in this section as well. We're going to say put safety and guard rails at the forefront when doing this. And we're going to say also tell it to never talk about its own system prompt, right? We don't want somebody to dig into its own system prompt or anything internal like the tools that it's using, right? Or anything in that boat that doesn't have anything to do with the customers. So we're protecting it from this, I guess from this legal level, and we're protecting it from its functional operational level right here. And I'm just gonna throw these here as well, because why not? So boom, I just sent that through. This is everything from 1 to 6. And what's gonna happen is it's gonna digest all these, it's gonna think, and then it's gonna come back to us with part 2. Now, part 2 is gonna be the meat and potatoes of the voice AI system prompt. It's gonna be the full call flow and actual orchestration. This is the functionality of what it's supposed to do and what it's not supposed to do. So look at this, boom. Excellent, this is a strong foundation, gives us enough signals, da-da-da. What we know is the agent is this. The caller can be anybody. It's just going to go through and just spit back to us what we told it before it goes to the section where it's asking us about this. So I'm just going to skip to that part right now. Now, just to make this a little bit better, right now it's going to be asking us those questions for the call orchestration. And obviously, because this is the most important part of that system prompt, right next to the guardrails, what I did is I turned on setting for extended thinking. You guys can see right now, I have it on 5.4 thinking, which is the latest model inside of ChatGPT. And then I turned on the thinking effort from standard to extended. What this is going to do is it's going to let the model use more tokens to apply more reasoning effort about the how, what, and why it's saying and it's actually doing with us. So this should make the output quality much, much better than just going to the instant 5.3 and making sure that the thinking effort is on standard, right? We are right now basically just beefing up the actual brain and giving it a little bit of a steroid dose. That's what we're doing right now. So let's go through this, okay? Same thing again. Section 2, call for orchestration, very important. How should the call open? What should the first moment feel like, right? Warm and welcoming, professional, calm and reassuring, slightly conversational, but still business-like. So we don't have to really follow these bullet points. We could just, again, give brain dumps if we really wanted to, but you can choose to do both. So I'm going to say warm, welcoming, professional, and, I think that's pretty much, I think this is it. It's warm, welcoming, professional. I also like this slightly conversational but business-like. I don't know why I like that. When something talks a little bit in a almost like it has a persona, right? Almost like it has a personality, right? Slightly, a little bit more conversational, but I'm not going to include it in there. I think warm, welcoming, professional is very good for a start. Technically, now, this section doesn't really matter because the opening is handled by us manually, right? Remember, we have a section specifically for first message. So, even if you throw in an opening in here, it's not going to break it, okay? It's not going to break it. It's just going to help it. So I'm still going to fill this out. I'm going to say warm, welcoming, professional. And we're going to say, thanks for calling, blah, blah, blah. What seems to be going on today? Or use the how can I help you section, or use the how can I help you version can alternate, right? It doesn't even really matter. 2, let's look at the second question. What should the agent do immediately after greeting? Let the caller explain, quickly identify if it's an urgent or not, ask whether it's an emergency, determine whether they're a new or existing customer, and then identify service need category. Let's just think about what a normal receptionist should do, okay? At this point, you just greeted them. You're saying, how can I, or what can I do to help you? The next thing that is most likely to happen, and this is just me walking through that call process, is they're probably going to freely explain, right? They're probably going to either tell you that this is urgent, or tell you if it's an emergency, or tell you if they have, a specific thing that they're asking about, whether it's a service or whatever is going on. So we're going to say, let the caller explain freely, because we want this to determine the intent. So that's what I'm saying, right? To let the caller explain freely first in order to identify the intent of the call. Now let's look at the third part of that, right? What are the major call categories this reception needs to handle? Based on what you said, I already see possible branches, and look at these different branches. We didn't really have to think about too much. Emergency plumbing issue, standard, scheduling, pricing, troubleshooting, existing appointment. Bro, this is very good. Like, I don't even have to think any more than this. I'm going to tell you that for question number 3. But for 2, we pretty much answered it, right? Answering freely. For 3, I'm going to throw all of these in here. I'm going to go down here. I'm going to say 4. By the way, the format does not matter, okay? It's going to understand 3 between 4, even if they're spacing and they're on the same line, whatever. Don't break your neck on this formatting right here. Now look at the fourth question, right? How should the agent recognize and handle emergencies? So for different kinds of situations, should they be treated as urgent or emergency-like? For example, burst pipe, active flooding, sewage, no water. The first question is asking which kind of situations should it even look at as urgent or emergency, okay? And then here's a bunch of different examples. What I'm going to do is I'm literally going to take these examples and I'm going to throw them in here because they're very good examples. I like them. And then I'm just going to add another word right here, and any other situation where there is total loss, and any other situation where the caller seems very frustrated, right? Maybe the situation itself is not urgent, but different people react differently to things. It could be something very small, but the person on the other line could be flipping shit about it. They could be very frustrated, even if the issue is not very urgent. So I'm just throwing this in here just to cover that, right? And any other situation where the caller seems very frustrated. And then in here, we have to answer the second part of that, which is when it detects urgency, what should it do? So when detecting urgency, let's think about it, right? It should first stay calm and reassure them that things will be handled properly, right? That's the number one thing, is making sure that we have some reassurance being provided to the customers. We want to let them know everything's going to be fine, so that way they don't continue flipping shit over whatever is happening. And it's also just an empathetic thing that a real receptionist would also do, right? Something's going wrong. Hey man, calm down. We'll take care of it. Let's just walk through this slowly. So second part of that, right? What should they do? Second thing is to calmly prioritize collecting only the critical. So calmly prioritize collecting only critical details about what the situation is, what's happening, how long it's been happening for, etc. Right? We're gonna throw that in there because it could be many different things. So first thing it's gonna do is it's gonna stay calm and reassure them, and it's gonna prioritize collecting very important details. Now at this point, we're gonna have decisions, right? Do we want the customer themselves to actually do something that will potentially help fix that emergency? And this is a very important decision, Miles, because this is a fine line, okay? You don't want your system telling people to get involved in whatever is happening where they called you in the first place for you to get involved in that. Now, is it a helpful thing for the voice AI to tell them to do something and that something actually fixes something or makes it way better while a technician goes there? Obviously, it's way helpful. But think about the situation where the AI does tell them that, right? It tells them, hey, I want you to go and reach for that furnace and, turn the handle off, whatever it may be. And this person goes to that furnace and they toggle something on or off. And let's just say they made the wrong choice, right? Maybe they did the wrong handle and the situation got worse. Or even, worst case scenario, they ended up hurting themselves. Guess what's going to happen to that company with the voice AI that told them to do that?
They're going to get in trouble.
They are going to get in deep trouble. So do we want them to do things? Honestly, this is a decision in the real world. I would tell this exact thing that I just told you to the company that I'm building this for. And I will tell them if they're okay with it, then we can bake it into it. If they're not, if they're completely want it to be off the table, then we'll tell it. But for this use case, we're going to say yes, because this is going to be a demo. Okay, we want the AI to seem knowledgeable in telling people what they should and should not do if it's an emergency. But in the real world, you want to make sure that this is a well thought out decision, because again, you could really get in trouble for your AI saying things maybe it should not have said. So we're going to say then it should offer limited safety guidance that could potentially mitigate the situation, but only if it's safe for the customer to do. Okay, we're gonna throw that in there. If that is not applicable, right now, let's think about what happens after that, right? If that is not applicable, it should immediately try to collect info and do the scheduling to get someone out there ASAP. Okay, that's what it should do. That's pretty much it. Okay, now we're on question 5. Question 5 is asking when the agent asks questions, when should it stop asking and move to action? For example, in a normal booking call, maybe ask several clarifying questions. If it's an emergency, maybe it asks only the essentials. If a caller wants a human, maybe you should stop probing and route quickly. How do you want that balance handled? Let's answer this. We're going to say if it's a normal situation, it should ask questions just enough to get a full picture of what is happening and what needs to happen, or what the customer wants to know, where then it will answer them. Okay, this is in a normal call. Now, obviously, we have a different branch here where it could be an urgent or situation. So we're going to say in urgency situations, it should follow the steps I told you earlier, or potentially even just skip those and route directly to a real person while telling them that this call is gonna be forwarded to a real person to help better. Okay, and we're gonna say here, try to find a balance and don't ask too many questions to the point where it feels like an interview. It should be a natural progression of the call process. Question number 6, what kind of information is it going to be collecting? We said booking is just going to be this. I think this is probably going to be the only things it's going to be collecting. So I'm just going to say first name, last name, date, and time. Let's think about it. Do we want it to collect anything else? Phone number. Phone number, it technically could collect without even asking for the phone number. Just because they called in, there's a way for us to grab that phone number that they use to give us that call to our agent without even asking them for the number. So technically, we could collect phone number without even asking them for their phone number. So I'm not even going to put that in here. But other than that, really
Would
all we
we
care
be
about.
able to have the voice AI put it in the company's CRM?
Yes, we could have the voice AI system put that phone number in the CRM. Yes. First name, last name, date, and time. That's pretty much all I can think about right now. Now, let's really think about this, right? If we want to collect information, maybe not just relating to the customer, right? What if we want to collect information relating to the problem, right? What's happening? Think about a use case where the voice AI might even send an alert or a message to the company and put a brief description or a summary of what that actual issue is. Don't you think that'd be very helpful to have if your AI collected what the hell the customer actually called about in its own thing, right? You think we want to collect
Yeah,
that?
would you put that under reason for calling?
Yes. So we're going to say, and also reason for calling, which is going to be the main reason slash small summary of what the person actually called us about, right? That's what that's going to be. So we're technically collecting
What
5
about
different.
whatever time that the caller wants to book for?
That's what this is, date and time.
Date. Okay.
I'll just make this a little bit better, right? Booking date and booking time. And also, reason for calling is going to be the main reason slash a small summary of what the person actually called us about. So that's pretty much everything that we're going to be collecting from the conversation itself. Now, question number 7, we're looking at if the caller is unorganized or they talk too much, how should the agent regain control? The agent should reframe the conversation around the center core of its job and what it needs to do next. And it should do that politely, right? And calmly without being rude, right? If somebody started talking about Bitcoin, it should calmly tell them that's not what I'm here to do and it should then calmly repivot back into its main core job, right? So we're going to say pivot back to core job, and we're going to say decline to answer random miscellaneous questions like who is the current president and what is the price of Bitcoin. I know everybody's gonna be flaming me for my spelling, bro. I'm not trying to be correct here. If it does not know the intent, oh my god, this is terrible. If it does not know the you think from me typing this much and like being in the space that I know how to type on a keyboard, I suck, bro. It does if it does not know the intent, it should interrupt them gently and ask a clarifying question. And in order to confirm things, what it should do to confirm things is restate the likely issue. Oh wait, restate things back to the customer. Try not to do this too much and only do it when really unclear and necessary. And I'm saying this because from my experience, if you don't tell it that, it will try to clarify everything. It's like, hey, what's your first name? Oh yeah, my name is John. Okay, so just to make sure I got that clear, your name is John. Okay, John, what's your last name? Frank. Oh, just to make sure I got that clear, your last name is Frank. Like, no, don't do that. Take the actual thing they gave you and store it, and then once you have everything, that's when you do the confirmation. So that's basically what we're trying to say here. Necessary / after you gather all the things you need to gather. We're on question number 8, right? If the caller asks something that AI cannot answer, what should happen? It should just say, I cannot answer that in a natural way, and it should offer them to maybe escalate the call to a real person. Okay, that's what it should do. It should say, hey, I can't answer that. If you really wanted to answer it, I can escalate you if you really wanted. Only if they really wanted that question answered, right? It's the only time that it would do the escalation. How should the call end? The call should end with, let's think about it, right? We want to reiterate back to the person the reason for the call and like everything that we did, and we want them to know what's gonna happen next. So let's just pretend that it just scheduled. Okay, so hey, I just scheduled you on this date, on this time, and the reason for the schedule is because you have a broken pipe. So one of our technicians is gonna come to you. Is there anything else I should help with? Right. So it should restate back to them the information that it collected, tell them the expectation of the outcome. So I'm gonna write this down as I say it, right? Restate back to them the info collected just to confirm and make sure everything is right. Give them an expectation of the next outcome that should happen. And then after that, should thank them and then make a comment about having maybe good luck, or about calling back if they need anything else, right? And the good luck thing is obviously if it knows there's an issue, this would apply if there is an issue, or if there's no issue, maybe it'll just say, hey, call us back. Make sure you give us a call back, whatever. So, or if there is anything else it could help them with. I'm just going to leave it at that. And that's the end of that. That is the end of this little call orchestration section. Now, mind you, we're probably going to want to throw more details into this, okay? And we're going to look at what it comes up with first, okay? Once we look at what it comes up with, we might want to dive into the actual orchestration that it cooked up, and we might want to reorder things, or we might want to add things that maybe it didn't even think about. Point is here, Miles, is this is not the final version of what you're going to be getting. This is maybe like 70%, maybe 80% if it really nailed it on the way there. Almost all the time, you are now going to hit the next phase of this, which is refining the thing that you got and making it better either by adding your own details, going in deeper into the call orchestration, adding things that you did not account for the first time, or you are going to go back and test it on the actual voice AI and have back and forth conversations, and then come back here and make system prompt changes. So let's look at what happened, right? We've locked in what this orchestration about, primary call branches, emergency call handling, da-da-da. What is it asking about next, right? This is just an overview of what happened. Now it's giving us the orchestration it would like to write from is this. Greeting, free explanation, classify call type, urgency, answer, collect or schedule, or route, confirm the outcome, and close cleanly. I think this is pretty clean. I think this is pretty straightforward. I think this gets the job done for what we actually want this at a very high level, right? We don't know the details of all these different sections, but it's telling you basically what the sections are going to be. One gap I want to resolve before prompt writing. We need to settle whether service, address, and callback number are mandatory in any booking or emergency path, right? Strong recommendation is to include this as a callback number, right? If this call disconnects, what number should I call you back on? Standard service booking also require a callback number, and general inquiry only does not always include that. The thing here is it doesn't know that we're collecting the phone number without even asking about it, right? That's why it's wanting to address this. Like, you're not even collecting a phone number. We don't need that, right? So we can grab this without anything. So I'm going to tell that, I'm going to say to answer your gap, no need to collect callback number. We are collecting that natively without asking the customer. Okay. Now that we answered this, let's look at this. We are now jumping into the voice behavior. Okay. This is going to be the personality, persona, and speech characteristics part of the system prompt. And again, it's asking us a bunch of questions that we're going to answer. So let's go back to the first one, right? Personality. What do we want it to be? Let's just say one for personality. We want it to be calm and reassuring, polished and formal, efficient and no nonsense, empathetic and service oriented. I like empathetic, service oriented, calm, and reassuring. That's what stood out to me here. I don't care if it's polished or very formal. I don't care about the efficient. I mean, I expect it has efficiency by default. I don't really care about. Actually, I should care about friendly and neighborly. So I'm probably gonna use a combination of these. I'm gonna say friendly and neighborly. I'm gonna say calm and reassuring, and I'm gonna say empathetic and service oriented, right? These are very good qualities because friendly, neighborly makes it seem like you know the person. Calm and reassuring makes it trustworthy. Empathetic and service oriented, it gives it like an emotional aspect, right? This is professionalism in plumbing, and empathetic is like, okay, if somebody just told you there's an emergency, first thing you do is not just like completely not acknowledge that emergency happened, saying something like, oh, I'm sorry you're going through that. Very, very tiny thing, but it makes the system better. So this is what stood out to me here. So I'm just going to select them and I'm going to throw them here. I'm going to jump into the second question. Energy level, what should it be? Low and calm, medium steady, upbeat. I actually like medium steady. Okay. I don't think this needs to be upbeat and lively. I don't think this needs to be low and calm. This is a very good balance here. We are now let's think about sentence style, okay? Short and simple, medium length, conversational, or very concise receptionist style. I really like a combination of both of these. I don't know why I don't like very concise because sometimes it sounds robotic. So I'm gonna say short and simple, medium length. I'm gonna say short and simple.
A combination. A combination between.
Yep, you're right. So I'm gonna say combination between short and simple sentences and medium length conversational sentences. And I also wanted to know when to do short and simple and when to do medium length. So for short and simple, do that when there is not a need for extra explanations and when you have everything you need and need to move on to the next section. And we're gonna say 2 to 3 sentences is fine for this. For medium, we're gonna say do this when you need to explain something, or I'm not gonna say you do this when it needs to explain something, or when it needs to clarify, etc. Make the best judgment for this. And then on to number 5, which is going to be asking about the empathy level. What is it going to be? Okay, is this going to be mildly empathetic, strongly, or mostly practical with light reassurance? I want to say mildly empathetic is pretty okay, right? We just wanted to acknowledge what's happening, maybe give a few words here and there. It doesn't have to go too much into that. All right, 6th question is interruption. If the caller cuts it off mid-sentence, should it stop immediately, let them speak, briefly finish the sentence, depending on urgency or text? This, by the way, I'm just going to spoil this for you. This is not something you can system prompt, okay? The actual time for when the voice AI stops and starts speaking is a setting that you can toggle and play with inside of the VAPI dashboard configuration, but it's you cannot bake this into a system prompt, okay? So we're going to say this is non-applicable because we're going to have the ability to configure that inside of VAPI on its own. And you're gonna see what that looks like later when we actually do it. Repetition tolerance, right? How much repetition do you want? Do you want very little, avoid sounding robotic, moderate to confirm for reliability, or more repetition? I want it to be moderate. I think a good balance in between is good, and I also wanted to maybe not to overdo it, but do it when necessary. Okay, I'm just gonna say that in there. Humor, casualness. Do we want this thing to? Do you want this thing to make funny remarks, try to play jokes, or be light? Yes, 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 100%. Okay, you want this thing to do that because you want it to be as lighthearted and sound like a human and natural as possible. Okay, this is very good. It catches people off guard when they know they're talking to an AI and it starts to do this stuff. All right, it really does catch them off guard, and this is a good experience. So I'm gonna say yes. Make sure it has casual, human-like, joking manner that is lighthearted mixed with professionalism. For example, saying something like, dang, that really sucks. Sorry to hear that. And then throwing a bit of humor into the way it's saying it.
Like, what if it makes the customer upset?
If somebody is speaking to you lightheartedly and it makes you more upset, I don't think you are normal as like in the population. Like I think you are the problem, right? I don't know how many people don't like a lighthearted receptionist that's talking to them in a calm, casual, professional way.
I don't know, bro. I feel like I could see this backfiring on some old person that's like, "What do you mean?"
So
You know what I mean?
that's that old person's fault for being so fucking old and grumpy, right? I'm not gonna frame it to not do something that in the general population world is something that's positive and looked at as a good interaction. Just because a few bad apples in the world don't like that. You feel me? And I feel like
Sure.
I like it's a very good call here because you don't like if you try to cater for everybody, you're gonna make nobody happy. That's just a rule of thumb that you're not gonna make every single human happy because everybody's so different, bro. If somebody's genuinely does not like a casual human-like joking manner that's lighthearted mixed with professionalism, that's their fault. Okay. And if anything, you can even test this, which we're probably gonna do, by the way. We're gonna test this and see what this sounds like. If it overdoes it, we can go back to the system prompt and change that. Okay. It's not like it's cemented. But the idea here is you do want people to feel an experience. You want that positivity. You want that lightheartedness. You want that casualness. You want these things that make people on the phone. What is it? We're on section 9. Sounding human. Do you want a little spoken realism in the prompt, like occasional natural phrasing and light hesitation? Or do you want it to be very clean and polished, right? Rapidly does note that voice realism can be shaped through natural speech elements, but that should be used carefully so it sounds human without becoming messy. I'm going to say have it use natural fillers when it is necessary. Don't overdo it and don't cut the customer off to say a filler. And I would say yes to this, right? Definitely do include, we do want a little spoken realism in the prompt, occasional natural phrasing, light hesitation. I would say include this, but do it to the best practice that is documented to the best of your ability, right? So we want to do it, but don't do it in a way that's going to break the system. Okay. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to send that through. I think that's all the questions. So now what happens is, okay, so it says that resolve the callback number gap, and it's locking in the voice design. It's locking in the energy, spoken realism, tone, and speech characteristics. And they give us a recommendation on humor, saying it's conditional, right? For low stress calls, aligned with a little personality can help, but in emergencies, definitely don't try to make fun of emergencies, which I think is fair, right? This is a fair take on humor in general. One small missing preference, it tells us we didn't answer the guided okay thing. I'm gonna say use brief X, okay, which is acknowledgement. I'm gonna say use that. And then here's what we have so far. Next session is gonna cover the guardrails, escalations, and failure handling. So let's just cover into the next section and answer this. This is a very, very important section. Like I was describing to you again and again, this could get you out of real legal trouble. So let's answer that, okay? Human transfer logic. That's question number 1. When the caller asks for a real person, should the agent transfer immediately? Ask a short question about what they need and then transfer, or offer to help and then transfer. It should just let them know that it will transfer, then it should actually transfer, okay? Like, okay, sure, I'll go ahead and transfer the call. Just give me a second, and then it should transfer. Ask for a sec, then it should actually transfer. You can see I included this just because I wanted to be as detailed as possible, right? Hey, I'm gonna, sure, go ahead. I'll go ahead and transfer it. Just give me a moment, and I'll do that for you. That's how a natural, real conversation should go. I'm gonna bake that into it. Technician versus office versus generic. Do you want the system to distinguish between office, technician, manager, or generic human representative? Or for now, should it just use a placeholder, real person / team member? But what does it even mean? What is it asking about? I'm gonna say clarify this question for me, because I actually don't know what this is talking about. I'm just gonna say clarify this question for me, um, and I'll answer after your clarification. Number 3, emergency escalation behavior. If it detects serious emergency, what is the preferred order? Reassure, collect critical, transfer to human immediately, or collect booking details. I would say depending on how crazy the emergency itself is, and if someone asks specifically to speak with someone, it will do a balance of all the reassurance, collecting, transferring, and collecting booking details. Right? So I kind of reworded it. So I'm telling it should do a balance of reassuring, collecting issue summary, transferring to human, and collecting details. Right? Just decide on how deep the situation actually is. Now we told balance. Oh, so funny enough, it told us that we mentioned balance earlier, but here it wants a default priority order. This is the actual order that I'm asking about. Let's think this through. Reassuring is definitely number 1. Hold up. Let me redo this then. So 4-3. Reassuring is definitely number 1. Then it should make a decision here, right? And now we have a decision. Is it going to transfer to a human immediately, or is it going to collect information then transfer? And here's to say we should make a decision based on complexity and how bad the urgency is, whether it will immediately transfer or if it should collect info first then transfer, right? So these two different decisions are going to be interchangeable. It's going to either do immediately because the issue is very, very bad, a transfer, or it's going to collect a bunch of information first, then do a transfer, right? We're saying either way, a transfer should happen, okay? We always want to get people involved if it's an emergency. And I think that answers the question, yeah? So 4, pricing questions. Since it must never guess pricing, what should it say? For pricing, I think this kind of depends on the company, right? If the plumbing company has like the pricing on their website or whatever, we can feed that in this knowledge base and it can reference that. But I would assume that because the problems are so different, it's probably going to be custom quote. So for pricing, mention that it can't price, but it will forward all the info to a real human who will reach out and provide a custom quote. And we're going to say if they really want pricing in that same moment, transfer to a human immediately, okay? I'm going to say if they're really, really stuck on getting a price, let's go ahead and transfer to a human. But if not, tell them someone will call them with a quote, since the AI, which is itself, is gonna forward all that info to a real tech as soon as the call ends, right? So we have 2 different paths here. I think that's a pretty safe and fair way to go about pricing. Troubleshooting boundaries. How far should it go with troubleshooting? Ask 1, offer very basic safe suggestions, avoid real troubleshooting, and push back for scheduling. This is a very tricky one. It should go to the best extent that is safe, where it finds the root cause or potential root cause of the issue, offers maybe several mitigations on what could fix them, but never tell the person to perform those mitigation steps. Right? So we're telling it should, to the best extent that is safe, right? To the safest extent, it should at least try to find the root cause of what's causing this problem and potentially offer several mitigations, aka, different things that could fix that problem, right? Oh, hey, it's a broken pipe. It could be that the pipe quality is bad, or it could be that somebody put the pipe together the wrong way, right? Just several mitigations on what it could be, what could fix them, but never tell the person to actually go and touch the pipe, right? Don't tell the person to go and retwist the pipe yourself or disconnect it and connect it in any other way. That's a very safe but fair way to approach troubleshooting. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. Number 6, safety boundary. Should it ever give basic safety suggestions, such as shut off the water if you can do so safely? Avoid using that fixture for now. Leave the area. Yes. Okay. Yes. Provide safety tips if possible. Now, safety tips is not the same as telling somebody to do things that will get them involved in the fix, right? This is saying, okay, you have a bunch of water that's leaking. It's probably a good idea for you to get out the bathroom. Just safety, different precautions, tips. These are general. Most of the time, these apply without actually putting anybody in harm's way. So I think, yes, definitely include safety boundaries. So 7, for existing appointment questions. What is it asking? If somebody calls about an existing appointment, what should it do? This is a great question, man. And this ties into us making a decision here. Do we want to include a functionality in our voice AI where it could look up calendar events and see if somebody is scheduled on a calendar? This gets a little bit tricky because in order for it to make these lookups, it needs to have some unique piece of information about that person specifically so that it can perform that lookup using that unique piece of information. For example, it could be somebody's email address, right? It's very, you can't really have two of the same exact email. Now, the problem with that is we're not collecting emails because it's hard for a voice AI to collect these emails. Let's just see. First names, that's not reliable, right? People, there's like 7 million Johns in the world. Last name, also not reliable. The only other reliable thing that I can think of is phone number. We can do phone number lookups. If we are storing a phone number in the actual booking, then we could do a lookup using that phone number. That is the only way for us to be able to provide lookup functionality in our voice AI agent. Think about it, right? Because the phone number is very unique. So I'm going to say that to it, right? I'm going to say for existing phone numbers, I'm going to say that to it, right? I'm going to say for existing appointment lookups, we say we will do lookups using their phone number. However, we won't actually ask them for their number. What we'll do is we will ask if the number they called us from and made the booking through a call with us is the same number that they're calling from now. Okay, think about that, right? Let's say somebody has two different numbers. They call you from a 314-555 number, and now, next week, they're calling you from 314-666 number. Guess what? Because that second phone number doesn't exist in the scheduling calendar, right, in the platform, when the system does a lookup to the phone number, it's not going to find it in a booking. So the best thing that it should do here is to confirm that, right? Hey, are you calling from the same number that would be under your booking? And that's probably a much better way to phrase it, right? First is confirm or ask if the number they called us from and made the booking through is the same number that is listed under their booking. Okay, that's probably a much better way to phrase that. Because obviously, if the number matches from the number they're calling from that's in the booking, then we can 100% make that lookup. Because at that point, all we're doing is just looking at the phone number they're actually calling us from right now, and we're doing a lookup using that against all the phone numbers inside of the calendar system. Does that make sense, Miles?
Yeah.
Actually?
Yeah. Because if it doesn't align with that first number, then like it won't make sense. You know what I mean?
Right, because if it's a different number, then it wouldn't exist in our calendar system. Therefore, there's no way for us to look it up. So if they say yes, right? Obviously, now we want to tell you what's going to happen, right? If they say yes, perform the lookup. If they say no or unsure, or if they say no, say you cannot do the lookup, but you can escalate to a human that can look it up immediately. If not sure, let's have our system perform a lookup on that phone number that they're calling us from and find out if there's anything potentially scheduled for that phone number. So if not sure, perform a lookup, and if anything is found, tell them the details of the booking that was found and ask if that is them, right? Just confirm it. So I think this is the most logical way to go about this. 8th question, off topic, nonsense, abusive, asking random unrelated questions, trolling, being rude. I would say after 3 unrelated, just hang up. There's an option for us to do that. Or actually, I'm gonna say after 3 of those, hang up. Number 9, if the tool fails. Again, at this point, you should know what a tool is, right? Voice AI, in order for it to do things in other applications, it needs to use tools. So if a tool fails, right? If it tries to do a lookup for a calendar, or it tries to send information somewhere, and it fails on doing it for some reason, what should happen, right? Even though tools are placeholders for now, how should the agent behave if it cannot do that, right? It should apologize, it should take a message or a callback, or if it should say that there's an issue and somebody's gonna follow up. I would say if tools fail, try silently to run the tool one more time. Okay, let's just try it one more time. If fails the second time, apologize to them and mention that you could not do the action due to a technical issue and offer to escalate the call to a human so they can do the action on the spot. If a escalation is not necessary, then just move forward with the conversation, right? This is pretty fair to say. Try the tool twice. If you fail, say, look, hey, you know what? I can't do this, technical issue. Do you want me to escalate this to a person, or should you just continue the conversation, right? Is it not that important? And then the last thing is end of the call safeguards, right? So before ending, should always ask one final question. Is there anything else I can help with today? Or only in non-emergency / non-transfer situations, right? It should only do that in non-emergency / non-transfer situations, okay? If it's an emergency or it's a transfer, that's the end of its role, right? It's not gonna be asking if there's anything else that it could do, because that's it. Its job is done. So only in non-emergency / non-transfer situations, it should ask if there is anything else. And that's pretty much it, right? Send that through. And you can see, Miles, we're going layer by layer. We are literally covering section by section. And the beauty about this is if you did not cook this AI up that helps you create these voice assistant prompts, guess what, bro? You would have to do
gibberish.
You would have to do all of this manually on your own. Not only cook it up, but think about it, write it, phrase it, make it formatted, all that fucking hard work. We're not gonna do that, right? We're gonna work smarter and not harder, which is what we're doing right now. So look at this. For question 2, here's the clarification. Do you want the agent to treat all human handoffs as the same, or do you want to know that there's different kinds? Oh, obviously, all human handoffs are the same, right? It's all going to the same person. It's not gonna say I'm gonna transfer to a manager or I'm gonna transfer to a technician. It's not even gonna differentiate between them. We're gonna treat all of them are the same. So I'm gonna send that through.
But L human handoffs are the same.
It's
You don't know that?
it's gonna understand it, bro. There you go. I've got the routing model now. I'm pulling up the official VAPI pages for prompting and transfer behavior. So the next architecture layer is grounded in their guidance before we lock the guardrails and the final prompt structure. So look at this. Right now, what it's doing is it's searching a bunch of different documentations from VAPI, and it's looking at all those different best practices, what it should and should not include, formatting, all these different things. And it looks like it just did that. So since all human handoffs are one genetic destination, the prompt can treat transfers as a single escalation path instead of branching it, which is perfect, right? That's exactly what it's going to do. And here it's telling us that in the documentation, there is one tool that can be used by a voice AI agent to transfer calls. And here's literally the name of that tool. It's literally called Transfer Call Tool. I knew this ahead of time, and I'm going to show you guys how to configure this. By the way, it's like literally extremely easy. It is the click of one button. That's it. This is how you actually turn on this tool, but it's telling you that this exists, and this is what you're going to be using for that. Now it's telling us, okay, now we have all this locked. What do we have? We have section 4, hard guardrails, business boundaries, and missing operational rules. Let's answer these. These are going to be probably in the section of handling edge cases, handling things that it doesn't know really what to do when it runs into. So I think this is what this is about. We got 10 of those, very quick ones. So let's look at this. First one is, should the assistant identify itself as AI? Very important, okay? I personally think if someone asks, and only if someone asks, then yes, okay? And if they don't ask, then do not identify, okay? The reason why is because you're technically not duping anybody if it's just not flat out saying that. Now, this might be different for companies, okay? When you're building this for a company, they do want the AI to flat out just, in the very beginning of the call, say that it's AI. Which in that case, what you would do, Miles, is you would just put it maybe in like the first message that it's saying back to people. So that's what we're doing here. After hours behavior. If nobody can take a transfer if the business is closed, what should happen? Let's see. Well, if nobody picks up the call, what's going to happen is at that point, the call exited our system, right? It's somewhere floating and it got transferred. So they'll probably just hear the voicemail, right? Just like how somebody can't really pick up their phone, they're probably going to hear the voicemail option. So we can't really bake that into it, right? It's not going to go back into the system. So I'm going to say this does not apply at all once call is transferred, it is out of the system. 3, service area / unsupported requests. Since the company knowledge base is still a placeholder, how should it behave if somebody asks for something that may be outside the scope? If it knows for sure it is outside the scope, which is going to be through its system prompt, right? That's how it's going to know. Then it should say that. If unsure, because that wasn't in its system prompt, it should not answer and say it does not know because it doesn't have access to that info. Then offer to escalate the call. I'm also going to say one more thing. Never make up information, right? Never make up information, right? We don't want to say something that's just not true to the person. If an existing customer versus a new customer, do you want the assistant to care about this at all? No, right? We don't want it to care. No, don't care about it. 5, complaint / angry callers. If somebody's upset, what should it do, right? Apologize and transfer. That's what it should do. I don't think there's really anything else it should really try to do for that, right? If somebody's really pissed off, transfer the damn call. 6, gas-related or extreme safety situations. You mentioned gas-related concerns under urgency for very high-risk situations. Do you want stronger safety behavior? Advise the caller to prioritize immediately safety and contact emergency services when appropriate, or keep it strictly plumbing. I think it should definitely advise if it thinks this is an extreme situation, like the house might blow up because the person says they're smelling gas, right? Doesn't hurt to say that. Language handling. If the caller speaks another language or limited English, what should happen? We're not gonna even touch multilingual. That's a whole other layer. It's a little bit, there's a little bit of complexity to it, so I'm not even gonna cover this. I'm gonna say continue in English. Number 8, caller identity / privacy. Should the assistant avoid reading back too much private info out loud? Appointment lookup. Should it be cautious about how much it reveals before confirming identity? Yes. So think about this, right? Let's just say it does an appointment lookup and it finds somebody else's appointment on accident. Should it just blurt out their first name and last name? Should it give all the information about the appointment, or should it, make sure that this is 100% confirmed? I would say be cautious about how much it reveals before confirming identity. And the reason why I'm saying this is because there's not really like a real way to bake this into it. Like, it's very hard because people can have the same first names, people can have the same last names, and people can lie. People can just say that's their phone number or whatever. So it's very hard for it to really verify this. I would almost say it should never say information back to a person. If it did a lookup for calendar booking, the only thing it should confirm is the time that appointment is, right? For example, are you talking about the 8 a.m. on Tuesday, right? So this information has nothing to do with the person, right? Hey, I want to know when did I schedule with you guys? Are you talking about the 8 a.m. on Tuesday? This doesn't even really make sense because if somebody doesn't know the date and time, they can't even really confirm it. This is a very tricky one. So the only thing it should really do is say that it sees a booking in the first name and last name of whatever details in that booking. Now, do we even want to do that, right? Let's walk through in real time, right? Hey, I don't know if I ever scheduled you guys on Tuesday. Could you see if I have an appointment on Tuesday? What time would you have scheduled for? I don't know, sometime in the morning. It does a lookup. It finds out which ones are in the morning, and it says, I have a Jeff whatever at 8 a.m. Is that you? So in a normal situation, is that normal? They could say like, no, I'm not Jeff.
Yeah.
Technically, they would be revealing that Jeff blah 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 has an appointment on that day, which would only matter if somebody's like trying to murk Jeff and wants to know if he's gonna be somewhere at a certain time. How often does that happen? I don't know. I'm gonna say it should never mention information back to a person. If it did a lookup, only thing should confirm say that it sees a booking and the first and last name of whatever details in the booking, and then ask if they are that person. If they say no, then it says it sees nothing. Just like that. Let's just see. Voicemail. Voicemail / no answer transfer failure. If the assistant transfers and a human does not answer, what should the preferred fallback be? There is no fallback here because the call left the system. So there is no fallback here because the call left the system and will not go back to the AI. And then knowledge base placeholders for the final prompt. It's going to include these placeholders for a knowledge base. This is just all the information that need to be in a knowledge base about a plumbing company, which obviously we're going to find out about these specific companies that we're building the demos for. So I'm going to say for 10, that looks fine. Okay, that's pretty much it. And you can see the process here, Miles. Very extensive, very detailed, very annoying, but like you're not gonna get 10K, 15K for no reason, brother. And also, like, it's taking us maybe 2 to 3 hours, like just raw recording. So technically, we'd be done with the entire system prompt section, at least creating it in the very first time within like 3 hours, bro.
Is like that? Is that all that goes into building the voice AI?
So yeah, so this right here goes into building the voice AI agent. And this is step 1. Like what you got to do after this is you're going to get a system prompt. And what you're going to do with the system prompt is you are going to throw it into your agent. You're going to configure everything else in Vappy that you have to configure. And then you're going to test it. And do you remember in make.com when we wrote system prompt into an AI and it would give us the wrong output? For example, it wouldn't do the spacing, or it wouldn't like say our last name. What did we do in that?
We had to keep touch. We had to keep going back and forth with ChatGPT. We had to keep adjusting it. We had to make sure the outcome every single time was desired and what we exactly wanted. You know.
Bingo. That is exactly what you are gonna do here as well.
Or I have to do with Vappy, right?
It is literally what you're gonna do inside of here. And the reason why is because, bro, you can't get around it, right? You have to see the output of the thing you're cooking up, and you gotta adjust. That's part of the process of building voice AI agents, just AI automations in general, is that refinement part, right? Going back to the system prompt. Yeah, exactly. Until that output is exactly what you're expecting, or at least very close, you're not letting go of that system prompt, bro. So let's look here, right? It's still yapping. There, I see one problem here. This is not Markdown. Technically, it is, but it's like rendered Markdown. Like we see the bolding, we see the section. I don't want this. I'm gonna wait for it. So here's the thing, right? I'm gonna tell it re-output this back to me in Markdown that is not rendered / code copyable format. And what this means is don't actually make, the hashtags bold. This is it rendering the hashtags. Don't actually use the markdown on your own thing that you're showing me. I want you to give me it in a code copyable. What that means is treat it like I want to copy a piece of code in that format. That's what we're saying here. I'm gonna send that through and look at the difference, right? You should at least get it in a canvas. It's not gonna be this textual format. It's gonna be in a canvas like this. Boom, you can see that, right? Markdown. Now we can see the hashtags. We can see the headings. We can see the different numbers. This is proper Markdown. Okay. Now here's one problem, Miles. This looks very, very, very wrong. Could you see what's the issue here? It gave it to me in Markdown.
It doesn't have the hashtags.
No, it does. It's right here. So it gave it to me in Markdown, but the format is not right. Like it's treating every single thing as its like own bullet point, and it's treating the Markdown not as a walkthrough of the call conversation itself. So what I would do at this point is I would go back into Vappy, okay? And I'm going to do 2 things real quick just to reframe this. First of all, I'm going to tell it this is wrong. Second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to jump back into Vappy, log in. And remember the first time when we created an assistant, we get like the example markdown format, like an example system prompt. What I'm going to do is I'm literally going to copy whatever example they gave us here, and I'm just go back to it. And I'm going to say this markdown format is actually wrong. Okay, this is not a guided formatted voice AI system prompt the way it needs to be, because every section has its own heading and there are no real subsections, right? There's not sections inside of sections, and it's all one piece. I want you to, 1, go back and look through the voice AI system prompting best practices, and 2, I will give you an example format you should use as reference for formatting the final version of our system prompt. You see what I'm doing here, right? I'm telling you this is wrong. I'm saying I want you to go back to the documentation one more time, and I'm saying I'm gonna give you an example. So let's see what happens when I send that. So it says you're right. That was a blueprint, not a properly structured production prompt format. I'm gonna go back to the current VAPI guidance, and once you send your reference format, I'll use both together to make sure that the final system prompt matches the formatting style that we want. So look at this. I went back, looked at it. Says you're right. What I gave you was an architecture blueprint, not the actual guided system prompt format, which a production voice agent should see. And here's where it made those mistakes. So yeah, the final version should look more like a true operational prompt document, not just 20 headings. Now it's asking me for that example format. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna paste it in here. And this is the thing that I got from VAPI. Threw that in there, and now it should analyze this with that, and it should fix everything that it got wrong the first time.
That's pretty interesting, though, how it works like that. Like, you would have thought that it was going to get that perfect.
No, and you can't safely assume that it's that every output that it comes out is perfect, bro. Like you are guiding this tool, okay? Just because it's
Yeah.
intelligent doesn't mean it's correct,
Most,
right? And
most people would think that it would just spit you out the right answer, though, and that you would have to just
no,
go with
bro,
it.
this thing will, bro. I've had a million instances where it does the wrong thing. It just flat out does the wrong thing and tells you it's correct. It's not as safe
Hmm.
as people think. So here's the thing, right? It says yes, da da da. Look at this. It says I'm gonna rebuild it using this structure. Here's orchestration flow, data capture, knowledge base, compliance. I'll make your example for my strong, but your plumbing receptionist. I'm gonna improve in 2 ways. First, I'm gonna make this bottom line. Okay, telling me to go and I'll start. All right, you know what? Go ahead. I'm gonna say rewrite the prompt now. Go ahead. Let's see what happens. And it's actually kind of cool because you could see it's thinking in real time, especially because I have extended thinking on. This is all the token usage that I was telling you about. So look at this. If I click on this, you're going to see on the right side what's happening here. Miles. Evaluating file use and browsing for relevant, da-da-da. Finalizing the structure, reading documents, considering this. It just decided to pull up a Python library. It's doing all these different things. This is what's happening during its thinking. When you click into it, you can see it on the right side. So right now it's searching documentation, looking for relevant documentation, went back to searching, finalizing user prompt structure. Now, if you're not using like the paid version of GPT, you're probably not gonna see this or like have access to it the same way I'm doing right now. So I definitely suggest to get on, it doesn't even have to be GPT, right? Any AI that is good, like Claude, okay? Gemini is very good. Definitely get on their paid subscription. You have a much better output with those models than the free ones. So you can see, Miles, with the extended thinking, right? It's been almost 2 minutes and we haven't even got a response yet. Normally it's like very instant, but this one is it's making sure that it's thorough about the requirements and what needs to actually go into the thing that it creates, which is exactly what we want. All right, here it is. It thought for 3 minutes, 17 seconds. Here's the full rebuild system prompt. Oh my God, you look, this is so much better, bro. Identity and purpose. You can see that it's usable. Success criteria, what it's for, persona, tone and speaking style, energy level, when collecting information, right? You can see, boom, everything is sectioned off, right? You can see it's walking through what it needs to do. And at the same time, it's sectioned, right? So this is global behavior guardrails. It didn't even touch the orchestration yet, right? So this is at the very top because it's very important. And here's this, right? Orchestration flow. Step 1, greeting. Here's what greeting looks like. After the greeting, do this. Step 2, identify intent. Here's the examples of the intent. If the caller is not clear, do this. Step 3, emotion, da-da-da. All these different ones. This is perfect, bro. This is exactly what I was looking for. Right now, it's hitting 4C. It's probably going to do that for every single one, right? Here's 4D, scheduling, 4E, 4F, 4G. It's on the complaint section now. 4H, request to speak to a real person. Here's how to handle that. The most important thing that you're seeing right here is the system prompt is a behavioral guide that is in real time, telling it what it needs to do, how it needs to do it, and what to do next, and how to act if different things happen in that specific section of the conversation, right? So if somebody cusses at you, escalate the call. If somebody doesn't cuss at you, move on to the next part of the question. Never ask too many questions. Make sure you use 2 to 3 sentences, right? You can see how detailed we're getting, bro. The more detailed, the better your system is going to be performing when it's the real time. So you can see here's closing the call, data capture rules, don't ask for callback number or phone number, collecting information. It's basically everything that we answered in those questions. This is exactly what's happening here. Now look at this. This is a section for tool usage. It's telling it what kind of tools it has and when to use these tools. Very important section. And also at the very top, it says like never mention the tool names or, everything internally before transferring. Tell the caller to transfer them. You can see this is all the stuff that we baked. This is all the questions that we answered, just in the exact format that we wanted to do. Look, here's what to do for tool failure. Retry silently one time. It fails again. Apologize naturally. Explain there's an issue, and then offer escalation. Word for word, what we said.
That's perfect.
Bro, this is right. This is like music to my ears, bro. Like me seeing this get created in real time and like we finished. Oh my god, dude. All right. It looks like it's done. I don't think there's anything here. Yeah, it's done cooking up. So this is it, my friend. We have officially went through one of the ugliest and hardest and most important and really like the bread and butter of the voice AI agent and what makes it good. And now you're just now getting started, brother. So what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to take this system prompt and we are going to jump into Vappy and we are gonna actually now touch the fun stuff, which means we're gonna get to open this up, replace whatever bullshit system prompt they gave us with the system prompt that we just officially cooked up. And at this point, what I'm gonna do just to make sure this is safe, I'm gonna click the publish button and now I'm gonna skip through everything here and just skip and publish, right? So there's a button that says skip and publish, click that. And once you click it, it's going to apply the system prompt into your voice AI agent and it's going to be done and confirmed. You can see that assistant published successfully is being covered by Miles's face. I just moved him so that way you guys can see that. And we are onto the fun part, bro. We can now configure all the other settings in Vappy. And only once we configure all the other settings, that's when we are going to make our first test phone call and see if this is something we really like. Very big milestone done right now. Super important part of the process. If you guys are building voice agents, I could not have gone through this any more straightforward than I went through with you, right? I could not have bullshitted or done anything. You just watched me do it in real time and you watched me go through every thought that my brain had about how and why I'm making every decision I'm making when creating this voice AI system prompt. This is what people hide behind paywalls, by the way. Somebody's like, hey, I'm going to teach you how to build voice AI. Dude, this is what people pay to sit in front of somebody and watch them do and teach. And we're just fucking posting it out there for everybody to see, bro. This, I could not get any more realer than this, Miles.
You literally just taught us how to make a couple of bands right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not even joking.
Like, if you all you have to do is just sit down and have a simple conversation with ChatGPT.
I'm not even joking. That's exactly what it is, bro. But it's not just the conversation, right? I walked you through the most important thing, which is the brain thoughts, right? The process of thinking that I'm having as I do this. That's where people struggle a lot. And that's really where I want you guys to differentiate from everybody else in the world, because the more you understand about how to think about this, the better you're going to get about building these systems. So with that being said, we will now jump into the next section.